So HR21 electric only. So we're gonna switch it on. We have an overheat error. So we have a motor symbol and it's saying that's overheating. If we press a green button, electric motor runs. So if I go into error codes, I have error 01F80041. So we're gonna try to look into error code to see what that means, and we're gonna try to deal with that. So that error code means that the master drive controller has overheat error. So it's either very hot or is the fault with the temperature feedback. So take the cover off and you will find the two drive controllers. Okay, so one is master, one is slave, and there is LED flashing here as well. So that LED should be flashing the error code as well. So number 3, 1, so I think it was 7317. Try again. So 3, 1, 8. So 318. So the error code, it is flashing 318. So number 3 means there is a master controller reporting the fault, and error code is 18. So I'm gonna have a look in the manual just to confirm the error code is matching up with what I see on display. So the error code that is flashing on LED is saying the master controller is reporting fault with the temperature sensor from the drive motor. Okay, so it's not actually the motor controller, but is a drive motor. And here on the right hand side we have a motor in there, and there is this smaller, the white wire. I think that's where the temperature sensor is. Okay, so what I'll do here, I'm gonna check the wiring on that sensor, and I'll see if we can find some problems with it. So we can do resistance check as well, just to confirm that the sensor is good or not. So I'm measuring the resistance on the temperature sensor on a slave motor and a slave sensor. So we have around 563 ohms, and that is correct resistance. The outside temperature is about 20 degrees, I would say, today. So roughly that's what we're measuring, 563 ohms. And that's what I would expect to see on the master controller. And on the master side I have 1.6 kilo ohm. Okay, so 1600 ohms, and measuring the temperature on that. So if something happened with the sensor, I will try to move the wire just to see if that's going to make any difference, or it may not, but something is not right with the sensor. That's why we're getting the error and it's not giving the fast drive. Okay, so it seems like moving wires doesn't make any difference. So it's most likely the problem with actually the sensor itself. So just remove this the plug for the top here. So you take the top cover off and you can get access to the wire, this temperature sensor wire, so you can see. I'm measuring resistance again, just double check, and look at this, 1166 ohms. Okay, so I moved the wire around and the resistance slightly increased. I don't think it's a problem with the wire. The crimping all looks good, so we're gonna have to possibly come and replace the motor, because the sensor goes inside the motor. Cannot get to it to remove it. And yeah, I think for now that is it. Needs the new motor. But if you would have the problem with the overheat fault, just check the resistance, and in a normal day, the ambient temperature of 20 degrees, you should have about 500 ohms, but this one is way too much. So back again, and today I'm going to change the motor. So I have a new motor with me. I didn't have it yesterday, so I had to come back today again with the new motor. The day is not so nice today, it's a bit raining, but hopefully it's gonna stop. So what I will do, I will have to remove the motor. As you can see, you can there's access holes on the axle to get to the bolt, and then we're gonna have to go through the top, get to the wiring. So it shouldn't be too bad, but the only downside is with this job, if I take the motor off, I will have some oil leak, I think, from the gearbox. Hopefully it's not gonna be too much, but see how it goes. And the other side as well, you have access holes to get to the bolts, and now you see there is a bolt, one here, one there on the bottom, and it will be one here on top. So that's where we are. So under the cover, it's 3 main cables, UVW. So there is a marks on the cables and a marks on the motor, and you can see the top bolt. You can just see right there. It's here. Okay. So the bolts are coming off quite nicely. Just got this drip tray. It's quite empty now. So I want to see just how much oil I'm gonna have out of this gearbox. So it doesn't look that bad job to do. It's just not sure how easy it's gonna be to support the motor and lift it back in. It's quite heavy. Okay, so it's not that bad at all. Just a tiny bit of oil. I thought it's gonna be much more. So that is just good for us. So there is some more oil coming out. I'm just gonna let this to drip out. So once I lift the motor up and just separate it from the gearbox, and you can see a bit more gearbox oil coming. So I'm gonna let this to drain. So I got my motor out, just gonna have to swap the seal here, and that's how it looks like on a gearbox side. So I'm just gonna have to fit a new motor in. I think it's going to be a bit more complicated to get a motor in than to remove it, but it's not too bad, to be honest. So new motor is in already. The main high current cable is connected, so just putting a couple cable ties on here, and we're gonna try it out to see if it's working. Alright, so let's switch this on and see if we're still going to have that error. Okay, so overheat error has gone, so that's a good news. So I think it's gonna be just fine. So I'll try and test a drive just to make sure it's driving, and then I think it's gonna be it. The only thing I have to do now is just top up the hydraulic oil, not hydraulic, the gearbox oil, and then seems to be good.